Hello everyone, welcome back. In this session, we will talk about docstrings in Python. Okay, so we will start our discussion with what is the full form of docstring. Docstring stands for documentation strings. Now the question comes in our mind, what is a documentation string or what is a docstring? So it is nothing but a string literal which should be the first statement of your module, function, class or method definition. Now again the question comes in our mind, why we use docstring? So the answer is it helps to make the documentation of the code very easy. For example, let's say we are working on a very large project and in our previous session we saw how to write comments in your code. Okay, and let's say I'm going to prepare a technical document of my project. In that document I need to use all the comments which has been specified in the very first line of the module, function, class or method definition. Because when we start writing any module, function, class or method, in the very first line we specify why we are writing this logic. What was the objective behind it? Now I need to use those comments in my documentation. So there are two ways to do that. Either I need to go to all the modules one by one and manually copy the first few lines of the comments which has been specified and paste it in the document. Or the second way is use the docstring feature. So here I'll just have to specify the object name along with it one attribute, and it will help me to print all the comments which has been specified in the very first line of the module, function, class or method. Okay. Now this docstring can be written single line or multi-line, okay, within the module, function, class or the method. And it can be defined either using triple single quotes or triple double quotes. Okay, and it can be single line as well as it can be multi-line. And to access the docstring, what I have to do, I have to use the attribute _doc _. This is the attribute of the object which will return the docstring. Okay, now let's see some example. So first of all, I'll write one function which will be the multiplication function, which will take two parameters as an input and it will return the multiplication of those two values. And in that function I'll specify a single line docstring. Okay, now let's write the function. So def multiplication, in that I'll take two parameters a and b, and then here either using the triple single quotes or triple double quotes I can specify the docstring, and docstring should always be the very first statement of my function. So first of all I'll use triple single quotes, and here I'll specify this function returns multiplication of a and b. Okay, then I'll write c equals to a into b, and then I'll say print result c. Now I have to use this line, I have to access this line of which is defined in the function. So how I can do that? In the print statement I can simply write the name of the module, which is multiplication, then remove this parenthesis and then write here dot double underscore doc double underscore. Now let's run this. So you can see here in the output, it is returning whatever the string that has been defined in the very first line of the multiplication function. Okay, suppose if I write anything here, what will happen? The result is stored in variable C. What will happen? Let's again run this. So again, after running this code, I'm still getting only this statement which has been mentioned in the very first line of the function. Okay. Now, what is the purpose of this? So normally in Python, in our previous session, we saw that we can write a single line comment using hash. Okay. But let's say if I have to write multi-line comments. So when we try to write the docstring, other than the very first statement of our module, function, class or the method, it is treated as a multi-line comment. So let's say if I break this line and make it a multi-line, again when I run it, Python will not give us any error. Rather, this string will be treated as a multi-line comment in Python. And using this double underscore doc double underscore attribute, we will be able to access the very first string literal which has been defined in the first statement of our module, function, class or method. So this was the single line docstring. Now let's say I need to write multi-line docstring. How I can do that? So I'll just remove this. Okay, and here now this time I'll define the docstring using triple double quotes, and here I'll write some message. So this function returns multiplication of two variables A and B. Then I'll say input. So in input I'll say A, which is first variable, then B, it is second variable, then I'll specify the output, then C stores result. Okay, now let's run this code again. So you can see here again, this with the help of this double underscore doc double underscore attribute, we are able to successfully print all the string values which has been mentioned in the very first line of the function multiplication. And whatever the docstrings which has been mentioned here, let's say if I change it to triple double quotes, so the string literals that we specify other than the very first line of our method, function, module or class, it will be treated as a multi-line comment in Python. Again, if I run this code, so you can see here Python is not giving us any error, and it is just returning this all these strings which has been mentioned in the first line of the multiplication function, and it is a multi-line docstring. And whatever the string letters that has been specified in the position other than the very first line of the function, it will be treated as a multi-line statement or multi-line comment in Python. Okay, so this is how you can create a docstring, and it will be helpful for you to make a documentation of the code. That's all for this session. Thank you.